Okay, I understand. I made that leak video that was like, hey, I'm gonna beat Persona 5 Royale with only Pixie. But I have not been able to start it because that game is so long and I'm still at Shido's Palace and I have to do Marshies after that. Okay, so I'm sorry that it's not out yet, but I still need to work on it. But for now, we're doing this. So, I I've done many Pokemon Nuzlockes in the past. I've mostly done them in Sword and Shield, but I've never done a Wonderlocke. So, this is the story of how I survived my first Wonderlocke. Now, Wonderlocke in Sword and Shield is kind of awkward because instead of Wonder trading your Pokemon away, you Surprise trade them, which is pretty much the same thing. But I've traded away every encounter except for one. Okay, we'll get to that later. But before I say this, I have my Switch Lite right here, and I'm gonna be entering in, and I'm gonna be showing you all the Pokemon. Unfortunately, the Pokemon that did die, I did release, but I still have like all the Pokemon that I'm gonna show you and that I'm gonna tell you about. All right, let's get going. So I pick out a starter of Sobble because this gives my rival, frickin' Cinderace. It gives him Cinderace, which I thought would be pretty helpful because I'm going to get like a strong team, and I'm gonna get at least a water type, and then later I can have a flying type against the Leon that has the Rillaboom. But this is interesting of how this Warlock played out. I had a Sobble, a a Grubbin, and a Lotad before I went to the wild area. Those were my three Pokemon that I had. I Wonder traded them away for a Baneri, a Charmander, which was the last one of the three trades, and also a Copperajah. It did not start out good until I got that Charmander. I trained it up, and I'm not going to be talking about the training up parts a bit. So I trained up the Charmander, and then I got it to level 18. Oh, I should talk about this for a second. Traded Pokemon gain a boost of EXP, but the only thing is they have a small problem with obedience because they're not yours. So I was scared about that. I then went through the route on the way to Milo's gym, and I got an encounter in the route to the uh, to the cave. And you're probably wondering if you're scared about the Charman or the Charmeleon at this point to be higher leveled. Why didn't you use the Baneri? It was level 60, which meant I could not use it until I beat Raihan, the final gym leader. Made me so angry. But then things started to look a bit better for me. I then got a level 1 Dranpaw from Wonder Trades, and this saved my ass. I I got a level 1 Dranpaw, and I hope you guys believe me, but I am not lying. I got a level 1 Dranpaw, and that Dranpaw carried me for the first 3 gyms. And now, and so he beat Bede, he beat Milo, and then I got Charmander or Charmeleon back, and I then did more Wonder Trades with the cave encounter and the encounter right near Milo's gym, and and when I traded them away, I got an LGM and a Sudowoodo. Not the best Pokemon, but we got it. So I then went on to the route and got another encounter. I traded it for a Wingo, so that was dull. But on the way there, I encountered. I like went into the freaking, and I'm not gonna be talking about every trade I got, because I don't know what that was, but that would just be ragdolling way too much. So I'm not gonna focus on that, on every encounter. I'm gonna focus on the big ones that I got. But before I went to Nessa's gym, I got a level 1 Eevee, and I like exploded. With that Eevee, I could have had any Pokemon. Any type, literally, besides like the ones that Eevee doesn't turn into. I could have had electric, fire, or water, dark, psychic, grass, ice, or fairy. 8 evolutions. I was ecstatic. I I was thinking of what Pokemon I should turn it into while going around the Isle of Armor. Oh yeah, the Isle. Before I get into the to the Eevee stuff, I'm just gonna say this real quick. I did not do the DLC much. I went to the Isle of Armor because it's the weaker one of the two. Like Crown Tundra is like level 70, so I could not handle it. But the Isle of Armor is actually a pretty low leveled place for being the Isle. So there are strong Pokemon like the Overworld Werelord or the Sharpedos. There are strong Pokemon, but I did not do the story in the Isle. I plan to do that later. I don't even know if I'm gonna make a video of it, but if I do, it's gonna hit my sub box. But I then trained him up and decided I'm gonna turn him into. Sorry, there's something on the screen. Turn up the bright. Oh, not too bright. There we go. I then decided to turn him into an Umbreon because Umbreon is tanky, and I thought the tank would be important. Damn, it hits me hard, but I turned him into an Umbreon. I then got a level 1 Ralts. The amount of Pokemon I got that I actually liked from the surprise trades was overwhelming, and I was so happy. It was a male, so I could have turned it into either a Galade or a Gardevoir. I turned him into a Gardevoir because Gardevoir is half fairy type, and I thought the fairy would be more important than the fighting, especially since what happens later. Alright, so I then went and beat Kabu's gym. And at this point, the Ralts was low leveled, and I did a few trades with the wild area and got a Heliolisk and a few other randoming Pokemon. Heliolisk is the only one I'm gonna mention. But I then put the Sudowoodo and LGM on my team. Psychic is a pretty strong type, and I know LGM's not a strong Pokemon, but I thought the Psychic typing could be better at the point in the game I was in. I didn't take it to the gym, but I did take Sudowoodo to the gym because it was the only strong Pokemon I had against him. And so Sudowoodo swept the fire gym, which was very fun. And I then decided to grind the wild area until I got the Gardevoir up to the level. And then I went to the next route. Before I went to the next route, actually, it's time to pay a moment of respect for Gluxio. Gluxio was the Charmeleon I had. And, I'm sorry, what is going on with lighting? That is right. Okay, right there, that's fine. Gluxio was the fire type Charmeleon I had, and he died in Kabu's gym. So, we pay a bit of respect to Gluxio. But then on the way to Alistair's gym, Grandpa dies. Grandpa dies. Literally. Umbreon is the player in that. He is what is going to be important in this. What is going on with the lighting? But he is going to be what's important in this next gym. And Grandpa dies immediately. I hate it. I then decided that I needed another encounter because I was feeling safe with Umbreon, but like not too safe. You know what I mean? I then got the trade that I got from the route beforehand was a Squirtle, which I thought was okay because then I got to Dupes Claws the Skaroopy at the Isle of Armor if I ever ran into one because they are everywhere over there. And then I went to the Glimwood Tangle. I got an encounter, Impidimp. I captured the Impidimp, and I traded it for a Machamp. And that Machamp was level 30. Within the realm that I could use it for. And I was like, I did like a double take there. And I was like, alright, he's not going to be important for this first gym, but he's going to be important for the dark type gym, Pierre's. And I even thought he would be important for Melanie's gym. So I was like, welcome to the squad, level 30, Machamp. And Umbreon swept Alistair's gym. There was no deaths. He did actually get close to killing Umbreon, but Umbreon's a tank. So it was time for the next gym. The gym I was feeling most scared for. Opal's gym. The fairy gym. So I was stressing about what I should do. I did not have any steel types or poison types. Besides Skaroopy. So I decided to put the Heliolisk and the Skaroopy on the team for replacements of Charmeleon and for the Grandpa. So I trained them up. And at this point, my team was Gardevoir, Umbreon, Machamp, Sudowoodo, Squirtle, and Mach. Did I already say Machamp? Heliolisk. That's the one I didn't say. But, and like, I was not looking too good for Opal's gym. But I decided to go in with Heliolisk and Squirtle. Squirtle dealt with most of the gym trainers outside of the gym. Like, inside the gym, but in the gym challenge. Since hers is just answering questions. Hers was actually turned out to be a bit harder, but also a bit easier. So, Squirtle dealt with all of the gym trainers, and Heliolisk dealt with Opal. Opal got close to killing Heliolisk, which I later named Powerline, which I thought is a fun name. And so, she got close to killing Powerline, but Powerline didn't die. So, let's continue on. By the way, I'm going to say the nicknames. I did not name the LGM. It was already off the team. Now, Gardevoir, I wasn't able to nickname Gardevoir, because Gardevoir was a Pokemon that I got from Japan. And apparently it was nicknameable or whatever, because when I tried to go and rename Gardevoir, it was just like, oh no, this is good. This nickname's good. It doesn't need to be changed. So, for the rest of the series, I just called Gardevoir, Gardevoir. Umbreon, I named Dark Shadow. Machamp, I named Shoji from My Hero Academia. I named the Sudowoodo, Sidono, and I named the Drapion Gale, because I thought that was a fun name. So, I then continued on, going through, Hammerlock again. And I went down the route it's a route before the Ruin route. I captured, I think it was a Galvantula, and I traded it for a Honedge. That Honedge will become important later. I then went on to Route 9. The worst route in the entire game. First of all, it's chock filled with a ton of Pokemon that I was weak to. I did capture a Girder and traded it for... You guys aren't going to believe me. But I traded it, Wonder traded it, by the way, for a Charizard. You guys aren't going to believe me, but I have proof. I have proof. Oh my god, you guys are still not going to believe me for that. But I got a Charizard. And I was ecstatic. But then that route became horrid. Pseudono ended up beating the Snorlax earlier, and I was like, I beat a massive fat bear with a piece of petrified wood, and I was honestly ecstatic. Like, I had never done that before, beating a Snorlax with a Pseudo-Wudo, and I was just like, what? There were 2 deaths on this route. Pseudono ended up passing, and Gale ended up passing. So, we pay our respects to Pseudono, who carried us through Kabu's gym, and he even helped with multiple other gyms in between Kabu and Melanie. We also pay respects to Gale, the carrier, to Opal's gym. Gale at this point was a Drapion, and I loved Drapion. And I guess Pokemon felt bad for me, because I went on to the next route. I think it was no, it was a Sneasel. I caught a Sneasel, that was it. I ended up Wonder Trading it for a level 100 shiny Glalie. You guys are not going to believe me for this, but I got a level 100 shiny Glalie. I'm going to show you guys when I open up the game later. But apparently Pokemon felt really bad for me. So it was level 100, so I couldn't use it. And I never ended up using it. But I got a level 100 shiny. That's never happened to me before. And I was just like, what the hell? And then I ended up sweeping Melanie, so that wasn't a big deal. Charizard got close to dying, but didn't end up dying. And then I beat Hop. We went to Bob's Your Uncle, the best restaurant in all of Pokemon. We ended up going on the route where I get that water bike. And then we ended up going to Pierre's gym. Now, Shoji handled it well. He did come close to dying a few times, but no matter. And I haven't been mentioning most of the rival battles because they end up just normal. But I'm gonna be talking about them later. So, next up was Raihan, and I decided to be a bit mean. And I gave Gardevoir the Bright Powder, which is an item that boosts your evasion. And the amount of times that helped me was incredibly large. Oh, and I also taught Gardevoir Energy Ball, because there was a few Pokemon that I needed grass for, and I never ended up getting a grass type, which kinda sucked, but I ended up living through it. Raihan's gym was a difficult one. No Pokemon died, but it was sad. What ended up happening was Shoji almost ended up dying. Umbreon almost ended up dying. And Gardevoir almost ended up dying. 3 Pokemon almost ended up dying in this gym. But I beat him, got the badge. Sonya became professor. Me and Hop went to White-On, and everyone lived happily ever after. If only that's how shit really was in this real world. But no. So let's continue. And at this time, I got a level 60 J-Momo. That will come in important later. And I decided to put the Honedge on my team at this point. Honedge was a strong Pokemon, or Honedge wasn't, but its evolution Aegislash was. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put the Honedge on my squad so that I can have a massive sword and shield. Okay, continuing on. The route didn't have anything interesting than a few trainer battles that almost killed every single Pokemon. But then it was time for the tournament, the final one, the Big Fancy Champions Cup. I ended up blasting Marnie away. Didn't stand a chance. Hop, weak. Blasted him away with everything I got. So at this point, my squad was a Charizard, a Umbreon, a Gardevoir, a Heliolisk, a Machamp, and a... What is going on there? Oh, technical difficulties. At this point, my squad was a Charizard, a Gardevoir, Umbreon, Aegislash, a Heliolisk, and a Machamp. And that's how it stayed for a little bit. I ended up going through, like, the Rose Tower. Almost ended up losing Heliolisk along the way. Blasted Oleana away. And ended up fighting the gym leaders. I ended up... No, it wasn't him. I ended up blasting Beat away with a ton of my Pokemon. Now, Nessa was a bit scary, but I ended up winning with Heliolisk and Gardevoir teaming up. I beat Alistair with Umbreon, and then came Raihan's match. He murdered Machamp. Machamp died. On his last Pokemon, Machamp died. And I did not have the mental spirit to continue. But I had to. The deadline was coming up. So, just kidding, I don't have deadlines. But I wanted to get it done. Because I was not enjoying it. It was hard. But... And then at this point in the game, I did not care if the content was good. So I ended up switching it on shift mode. If you're wondering about the rules I used, are I have to catch the first Pokemon in every route. I have to Wonder Trade every Pokemon before I ever get to use it. I have to nickname all my Pokemon. If a Pokemon faints, it dies. Dupe's Claws. If I run into a Pokemon that in the same evolution chain that I've already caught, I can skip it and go get something else. Legendary Claws. I cannot use Legendaries. And I have to play on shift mode, or set. But at this point, I did not care. I was not having fun. So I switched it to shift, and I did not care. Ended up going and training up a Luminary. It didn't work because of friendship. And I was like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore, Luminary. So I ended up training up the J-Momo, got it to a Kamo-O, and ended up naming it Toru because of the fighting. But Toru was going to be a member that would become important for the final battle. So, ended up catching the Eternatus. And I could not Wonder Trade it away. But I did do a Corviknight not Gigantamax, but Dynamax raid. And I was like, okay, I'm going to Wonder Trade it. The most ironic thing happened. When I Wonder Traded it, I Wonder Traded a Corviknight for a Rookidee. A Rookidee? I traded the evolution for the smaller version? Are you kidding me? Alright. Well, whatever. So, I could not Wonder Trade Eternatus. That's the one encounter that I couldn't Wonder Trade. Because it was special. But then it was time. for the final battle. It was time for Leon. Leon had a tough team. I ended up switching or having Charizard up first. I special attacked because I assumed that the Aegislash was going to go for a King Shield first. And I was like, oh, then I'm just going to, like, use an X special attack so I can Fire Blitz it the next turn. But then it ended up going for Shadow Ball. This almost ended the battle. So I ended up Fire Blitzing it the next turn and murdered it. Next, he brought in tried to bring in the Rhyperior that he had. So I switched into Gardevoir and Energy Balled it away. That's fine. He ended up bringing out his Haxorus. So I ended up switching into Toru. And Toru was killed by an outrage. An outrage. Toru's not that close to me, but I love Toru. And it was just sucked to lose her. But I couldn't give up. Not yet. So the next turn, I ended up switching into Charizard and blasting it away with a Dragon Pulse. It was actually confused and it hit itself. He full restored, and then I ended up having to use 2 more Dragon Pulses to murder it. He then ended up switching in Dragapult. So I ended up bringing in the tank known as or Dark Shadow. I ended up Dark Pulsing it a few times to kill it. Then he brought in his Rillaboom. Easy Yoko for Charizard. Now at this point, I had used I actually used Aegislash for one of the other Pokemon. I think it was the Haxorus. Yeah, I used it for the Haxorus. And he actually got in a bit good of damage, Aegislash, which I ended up naming Toga, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I ended up naming Aegislash Toga. So, Power Line was the only Pokemon I didn't use. Until his Charizard came to play. He ended up bringing out his Gigantamax Charizard, so I ended up Dynamaxing Power Line. The first turn, he goes for a Max Airstream. It doesn't do that much. And I ended up going for a Max Thunder, and it did almost all of his damage. Almost all of his health. So, he does a G-Max Wildfire, and he lives on 40 HP. And I was just like, what the hell? Oh my god. He then blasts him away with electricity. And just like that, I won my first Pokemon Shield Wonderlocke. A few interesting tidbits. 6 Pokemon ended up passing away. So, 6 Pokemon ended up dying in this playthrough. Let's give them a moment of respect. Gluxio, the original Charmeleon, the Dranpa that I ended up naming Ryukyu, Sidono, the Sudowoodo, Shoji, the Machamp, and Toru, the Kamalo. I ended up using 12 Pokemon in this entire run. Oh wait, something I actually did. I ended up using a Caparaja during this playthrough when I battled Bede. So I actually ended up using 13 Pokemon. 7 who lived, 6 who died. And who was the MVP of the run? Dark Shadow, the Umbreon. But really, there is no MVP. I think there's an MPV for every section of the game. For the first part, it was Dranpa. For the middle-ish area, it was Sudowoodo. For the ending area, it was most of my Pokemon. But the ultimate MVP, the one who carried me throughout every battle, was Umbreon. Now, time to show you some Pokemon. But I'm actually not going to do that in this video. I'm going to do it next video when I talk about what I did in the Ground Tundra and the Isle of Armor. But But first I gotta complete the stories. So, if you enjoyed this video, please end up leaving a like. Of course, this is all if you want to. If you enjoy my content, then please do leave a like. But if you really don't like it, then please leave a dislike. I want to know your true opinions, so it would really mean a lot to me. And if that's all I have today, then I'm gonna see you guys all later. I will get that Persona 5 Royale done, but for now, I'm gone. Peace!